Today, I'm going to recap a Korean romantic comedy film released in 2015 called Splash Splash Love. This movie is a story of a senior high school girl who has given up on math. Feeling frustrated because her mom keeps nagging at her for her poor math, she wishes to disappear from this world. Surprisingly, her wishes come true. She mysteriously disappears, finds herself transported into a world without math, and even meets a king whom she falls in love with. What kind of place will it be? Will she return to her world, or will she stay and live with the king she loves? Let's follow her adventure. This is Danby, an ordinary senior high school girl who hates math because every time her teacher asks her to solve some math problems in front of the class, she can never finish it. Not only her teacher, but also her mom gets worried if she cannot pass the admission test to Seoul University. Her mom nags her all the time to study hard. She even switches the TV channel to a historical drama. Being so annoyed, Danby decides to leave her house and go with her friend. In the morning before she left for the test, her mom nags her, asking her to answer the examination correctly. Although her mom is so annoying for Danby, her mom still cares for her a lot. She brings her some snacks and an umbrella because the weather forecast said it will be a rainy day. Her mom also wishes her a ton of luck for her test. On the way to the test, Danby reads her book to study. When she is about to get off from the bus, she drops her book. An unknown person then helps her to pick up the book. Because she is in a hurry, she doesn't get to see who he is and even left her umbrella on the bus. She is completely drenched by the heavy rain. Danby is supposed to go to her classroom right away, but she plans to skip the examination as she is too stressed. She has no confidence to sit for the test and she is afraid to disappoint her mom. She then stops at a playground for a while. She wishes the time could stop now and she could disappear so she doesn't need to attend the test. At this moment, she suddenly hears drum sounds in a puddle of water nearby. She is very curious, so she goes closer to check. She uses her foot to check into the puddle, but she cannot feel the bottom as if it's a very deep puddle. She's even drowned in the puddle. Where is she going? The scene moves to the ancient Joseon era. A group of people wearing ancient clothes gather around a big tank. Due to the perennial drought, they do a ritual to ask for rain. The king actually doesn't believe that kind of superstitious thing. When the king is about to leave the place, suddenly, something comes out from the tank. It turns out Danby, who mysteriously traveled back to the ancient era. Both Danby and the Joseon people are shocked. At first, Danby thinks it is a filming location for a Korean historical drama, until a group of imperial guards went straight to her with their sword. Danby then realizes everything is real but with a different time era. Being frightened, Danby improvises, shouting that God has sent her to help Joseon people to ask for rain. Everyone spontaneously bows down to thank God. At this time, Danby uses her chance to run away and hide. But no longer after that, she gets caught by the king's guard. Danby is brought to meet the king. Since it has been 3 years without rain in Joseon, the king demands her to bring rain immediately. If she cannot do it as she claimed previously, the king threatens to kill her. Because of her inability to get the rain, the king decides to cut her arm. Danby begs the king to spare her life for her capability in math and science that can help him to revive his kingdom. She then proves to the king to solve some math and science problems. The king is impressed and lets her stay in the kingdom. Although in her real life Danby's math is so poor, yet her common knowledge makes her become the greatest mathematician and scientist in the entire kingdom. She even teaches the king about math rules, starting with addition, subtraction, and continuing with multiplication and division. Sometimes, she also has a math match with the king. Of course, it's very easy for her to win the match. As the punishment for the loser, Danby has the right to hit the king's head. Not only about math and science, Danby also introduces the king about many new things that exist in the modern era, such as instant rice cakes that the king enjoys so much. One day, the king gets a stomachache. The palace physician cannot cure him. Danby then explains to the physicians about the digestive system in the human body. She diagnoses the king as having diarrhea. She even contributes to writing a medical script for the king. As she is successful in curing the king, she is trusted to serve as an agricultural instructor. Danby spends a lot of time together with the king, playing together and even taking selfies together. Danby begins to have a special feeling towards the king. But does the king feel the same too? Several days have passed, but there was no rain as Danby promised. She becomes the target of the Prime Minister, who claims Danby is a liar. They catch Danby and tie her. When they try to execute her with 5 horses, the king's guard comes to rescue and save her life. He takes Danby to a safe place. Being separated from the king, Danby spends her day doing math problems to find the solutions for Josian people who are in need of water. She even gets her nose bleed for trying so hard without getting enough rest. The next day, Danby finally can solve the math problems. She feels so relieved and proud of herself. And suddenly, it starts to rain heavily. As she said to the king that she will leave Gisone as it rains, Danby prepares to leave Gisone and begins to put her foot in the puddle. Will Danby return to her real world? At the other place, the king feels lonely. He realizes that his life is so much boring without Danby. When it starts to rain, the king runs toward Danby's place. He recalls that Danby will travel back once it rains. He resignedly hopes that Danby is still there. He comes to the place just to find nothing. He can't find Danby anywhere. Do you think it is too late for the king to chase Danby and get her back? Fortunately, the king is lucky to find Danby at the palace and he hugs her immediately. As he wants to keep Danby safe, the king asks his guard to take Danby to a safe place far from the palace. When Danby and the king's guard are on their way, they are blocked by a group of people who are sent by the Prime Minister to attack Danby. Danby almost gets killed, but luckily she gets protection from the king's guard. He asks Danby to run away by his horse while he is fighting against the people alone. It is the first time for Danby to ride a horse by herself, but thanks to Gangnam-style horseback riding dance that helps her to control the horse. After a long day, Danby finally can meet the king again at the beach. They take some rest and enjoy the night together by seeing the stars and having a deep conversation. The king kisses Danby. It turns out the king also has a special feeling towards her. But is the love across time and space between Danby and the king gonna work? The next day, Danby and the king return to the palace safely. Danby then successfully invents an alternative irrigation system to drain the water from the river to Josian. It impresses the king and also the people, who begin to welcome her well and befriend her. Danby loves to stay in Josian until one day, Danby meets Empress Dowager, who looks exactly the same as her mom. She eventually misses home and her mom. That night, the king invites Danby to see his invention. Based on the words on Danby's uniform, he created Korean wording that continues to be used by society till now. Not only that, the king also confesses his feelings to Danby and asks her to stay with him forever in Josian. Danby is so impressed by the king, but she has to refuse the king because she has to come back home to meet her mom that she misses so much. The king becomes very upset. With a broken heart, he decides to leave Danby alone. No longer after the king leaves, an intruder comes and stabs Danby. He wants to kill her and burn her alive. The king runs quickly to save Danby. He is worried to see that Danby is unconscious. The king then finds out that the accident was planned by the Prime Minister. The king decides to forgive him since Danby is not injured. The thick math book inside her bag saved her life from the stabbing. On another rainy day, the king takes Danby to the beach. They embrace each other and dance in the rain. That day turns out to be their last day together. The king realizes that Danby seems in danger frequently since she comes to Josian. He finally understands that their love will not work well and they will not have a happy ending if they continue this love. Both the king and Danby are sad, but the king decides to let her go. He promises that he will find her again in any time-space. Danby then drowns in the sea. As Danby has traveled back, she rushes to her classroom on time to join her examination. At the end of the movie, Danby is shown standing next to a puddle. She recalls great moments with the king in Josian and considers stepping into it. When it starts to rain, someone suddenly covers her head with an umbrella that she left on the bus previously. Danby looks up, staring at the man who looks exactly the same as the king. They stand silently looking into each other's eyes until he breaks the silence by telling her they have met before. The king has kept his promise to find Danby in any time-space. Like an unknown quote said, it might take a year or a day, but what's meant to be will always find its way. Love will find a way against time and space itself. Hopefully love gets its way to you too. Leave your comments below. And also make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.